Ladies and gentlemen, history is unfolding before our eyes. The Oval Office at the White House is about to witness a scene unlike anything seen before. Just days after meeting with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump is now preparing to sit down with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And not only Zelensky, but also 6 of Europe's most powerful leaders. Why is the White House suddenly packed like never before? What secret deals are happening behind closed doors? And most importantly, is Trump standing firm? Or has Putin managed to hypnotize him into playing Russia's game? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will shock you. Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. Today's story is one of those rare moments in history where politics feels like a thriller. On Friday, Trump met face-to-face with Vladimir Putin. And now, just hours later, he's hosting Zelensky and 6 major European leaders: Germany, France, the UK, Italy, Finland, the head of the European Union, and the Secretary General of NATO. Think about it. The Oval Office has never been this crowded. Leaders don't usually pile into that room like this. It's normally reserved for intimate one-on-one diplomacy. So why is it suddenly overflowing with global power players? Because everyone wants to know, what exactly happened at Trump's secretive meeting with Putin in Alaska? And friends, the whispers coming out of that meeting are disturbing. Just last week, we were talking about Trump's conditions for Russia. But today, it's Putin's conditions that dominate the conversation. How did this flip happen so fast? Remember how Trump used to talk tough about Russia? Just a week ago he told Putin, "You will sign a ceasefire. You will come to the peace table. If you don't, America and its allies will hit you with devastating sanctions." Strong words, right? A confident stance. But look at where we are now. The tables have completely turned. After facing threats of sanctions, Putin pulled off a clever move. He met with Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, and suddenly, almost out of nowhere, an Alaska summit was arranged. Red carpets were rolled out. Putin arrived in America as though he were being honored, not punished. And from that moment, the narrative changed. Now we're not talking about Trump's demands. We're talking about Putin's. Putin sat across from Trump and said, "Donbass, I want it. Crimea is not up for discussion. NATO membership, forget it. Donbass is my condition. The rest maybe we can talk." And here's the shocking part. Trump didn't push back. Instead, he came out saying Ukraine is the one who must decide whether the war ends or continues. He said Zelensky could stop the war today if he wanted. If not, that's his choice. Think about how twisted that is. It makes it sound like Ukraine is fighting this war for fun, as if Russia never invaded them. Trump effectively shifted the responsibility for peace from the aggressor, Russia, onto the victim, Ukraine. This is the move of a master manipulator. Putin reframes the war, and Trump delivers the message. But what does this mean for Ukraine's future? Experts are worried. Many analysts say Trump has been unable to challenge Putin directly, so instead, he's turning his frustration on Zelensky. He sees Zelensky as weak. He even told Russian media before their meeting, "Russia is a big country. Ukraine is not a big country." Trump respects strength, size, and dominance, and when he looks at Ukraine, he doesn't see power. He sees an easy target. That's why many believe today's meeting will be brutal for Zelensky. Trump is likely to pressure him into giving concessions. Concessions that would cost Ukraine territory, sovereignty, and dignity. Already Trump has declared that Ukraine must forget about NATO membership. He has also said that reclaiming Crimea is no longer on the table. According to Trump, if there's any negotiation to be had, it will only concern the territories currently occupied by Russia. So imagine being Zelensky, your country invaded, your people killed, and now the supposed leader of the free world tells you, give up, compromise, and move on. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is saying something equally alarming. He claims both sides need to make compromises. But what does compromise mean here? For Russia, it means maybe occupying a little less land. For Ukraine, it means losing even more of its territory. Once again, Ukraine pays the price. So is this peace, or is this the forced surrender of Ukraine disguised as diplomacy? Here's where the story gets even stranger. After the Alaska summit, Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff claimed that Putin had actually made some concessions. According to Witkoff, Russia agreed on 2 points, one involving territory, though the details remain vague, and another involving security guarantees for Ukraine. Now think about how bizarre this is. Russia, the same country that invaded Ukraine because it didn't want it joining NATO, is supposedly agreeing to let the US and Europe give Ukraine NATO-style security guarantees. Witkoff described them as guarantees similar to NATO's famous Article 5, which means if Ukraine is attacked, the US and Europe would step in to defend it. But here's the catch. Ukraine wouldn't officially be in NATO. It would get all the protections without taking on any obligations. Why would Russia ever accept this? If true, it gives Ukraine more than NATO membership itself. Which raises the question, is this real or is someone lying about what was agreed in Alaska? Even Zelensky is skeptical. He says vague guarantees don't mean much. Ukraine had guarantees in 1994 when it gave up its nuclear weapons. And what happened? In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea. In 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion. Those so-called guarantees protected nothing. That's why Zelensky insists. This time, the guarantees must be concrete, not just words. But here's the real danger. What if Putin is only stalling for time? Zelensky has made it clear. He believes Putin's latest peace offers are a trap, a way to freeze the war, regroup, and then launch a much stronger invasion years later. He warns the US not to reward Putin, not to fall for his tricks. But Trump doesn't like being lectured. In fact, in their previous meeting, Trump humiliated Zelensky in front of the world, shouting at him, belittling him, even canceling a planned lunch. It was a disaster. And that's why today's meeting has Europe on edge. European leaders are terrified that if Zelensky meets Trump alone, he could be bullied into concessions that would unravel the entire Western alliance. They remember the last meeting, and they don't want to repeat. That's why so many leaders scrambled onto planes and rushed to Washington. France's Macron, Germany's Chancellor Merz, the UK's Prime Minister Starmer, Italy's Giorgia Meloni, Finland's President, the EU Commission President, and NATO's Secretary General. All of them are showing up in the Oval Office. They want to make sure Zelensky isn't cornered. They want to know what really happened in Alaska. They want to see with their own eyes whether Trump gave away too much. Picture it. 8 leaders squeezed into the Oval Office with Trump. It's chaotic, it's tense, and it's unprecedented in history. Normally the Oval Office is reserved for small meetings, 1 leader at a time, maybe 2. The only exception was back in 2016 when Obama hosted the Nordic leaders. But even then it wasn't inside the Oval Office itself. Today we'll see something entirely different. Zelensky and 6 European leaders, all trying to stop a diplomatic train wreck in real time. And make no mistake, the stakes couldn't be higher. If Trump pushes Zelensky into concessions, Ukraine loses land and Russia gains legitimacy. If Zelensky resists, Trump may walk away, blaming Ukraine for prolonging the war. Either way, Putin benefits. That's why so many experts believe Putin has already succeeded in shifting the battlefield. Not through weapons, but through words. So the real question is, will today mark the beginning of peace? Or the betrayal of Ukraine? As we speak, the meetings are happening. Behind those closed doors, deals are being pushed, pressure is mounting, and the future of Ukraine may be decided. Soon, the leaders will emerge and give their statements. But what they say publicly may not match what was agreed in private. That's why Europe is watching like a hawk. That's why Ukraine is holding its breath. And that's why this moment matters for all of us. Because if Putin can reshape the terms of peace after invading a sovereign country, what message does that send to the rest of the world? It says, aggression works. It says, if you're powerful enough, you get to rewrite the rules. Friends, we are living through a turning point in world history. Trump, Putin, Zelensky, and the European leaders are playing a game that will define not only the future of Ukraine, but the entire balance of global power. And the craziest part? By the end of today, we still might not know what really happened in Alaska, or what Trump promised to Putin. But one thing is certain, the outcome of these meetings will echo for decades to come. What do you think? Is Trump being manipulated by Putin, or is he playing a strategy we don't fully see yet? Should Zelensky make concessions to end the war, or would that only reward Russian aggression? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update on these world-changing events. Share this video with friends who need to know what's really going on behind the headlines. This is more than news. It's history unfolding. And together, we'll keep watching it happen. Thank you for being here, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.